Hey guys, welcome back to Remove Before Race. I'm your super-powered host, Raz, and today we're starting a new video series that covers the future cars that a manufacturer will have coming out and all the information that I can give you about them. And today we're kicking it off with Mercedes AMG. They have a ton of new cars coming in the next few years, and today I'm going to show you everything from facelifts to brand new models. We're going to take it all the way from A-Class to the brand new AMG GT. It's going to be an awesome series, so let's kick it off now with all the future cars of Mercedes AMG. So guys, today's episode of RBR has been kindly sponsored by Air for Life, who make air sanifiers for both your car and your home. This is the little device, this is the one that plugs into your car, and this uses NASA-developed ionization technology. Now what these actually do in reality is pretty amazing. Once you plug it in, these will eradicate 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, not just in the air, but on surfaces and seats as well, including stuff like coronavirus, all right? This can also help negate the symptoms of allergies, asthma, hay fever as well. And perhaps what's even more useful just for daily car guys like us is that it can remove odors from the car as well. You plug it in and an hour later it'll get rid of pet odors, cigarette, food odors, etc. It's super easy to use. You simply just plug it into your 12 volt and that's it. There's no maintenance, there's no filters to change. And as well as Storm Grey, you can also get it in Stealth Black or in the white finish. This is a super useful device to have in your arsenal as a car user, or even more if you're anything to do with public transport, right? It's like taxi driving, car sharing, car rental companies. You guys need to have this. It's going to be a game changer. Now, of course, as an RBR viewer, you always get a good discount, so you will get 25% off. Use the code RBR on that link below. Or there's a second option with them. They've just opened for the first time ever private investment all through Crowdcube. And all you need to do is buy 10 or more shares and they'll give you a free one anyway. And the details of how to do all of that is in the description below. Guys, many thanks for always supporting our sponsors. Now back to the episode. So guys, this video series was actually inspired by when I was a kid. I used to pick up brand new car magazines like Autocar, flick straight to the spy shots of the future cars section and be filled with wonder looking at the new cars coming from my favorite manufacturers. And this series is meant to invoke that same wonder for you guys, along with a load of information, insider chatter, rumors, etc. Whatever I can bring you from my research, you will find out about your favorite manufacturers. And like I said, today we're kicking it off with Mercedes AMG, a company that perhaps we thought peaked with this, the AMG GT Black Series, being the fastest car on the Nürburgring. And we thought maybe this is the last pure combustion AMG GT ever. But then along came the SL with two V8 versions, pure combustion, beautiful dinosaur of a car, absolutely love it. And then the new GT seems to be following suit as well. So it's not all over yet for AMG. In fact, their upcoming lineup is quite fascinating because it has a vastly wide range of different technologies powering all of these future cars, ranging from pure combustion, hybrid setups, to even pure EVs. And today I'm going to cover 10 model series with you on what future AMGs are coming. So let's start with number one, which is the brand new C63 E-Performance. So the new C63 is the one that's going to be released very, very soon. And famously, it's losing the V8 and instead it's getting half the cylinders in a 4-cylinder engine with a hybrid setup. But this setup is really important because I think in the next half a decade, a ton of AMGs are going to be powered by this setup. So let me explain to you exactly what it has. First of all, we've got the M139L engine in this, which is derived from the A45 engine, but longitudinally mounted in the car, shared with the C43. But in the C63, it has the MGU-H, which is the electric gas turbocharger, which to be fair, the 43 has as well. But in this one, it's larger and it produces more power, 470 brake horsepower, just from the 4-cylinder engine, making it the most powerful one in the entire world. So that's just your combustion engine, a 4-cylinder making the same power as my SL55 AMG. In addition to this, we have the P3 hybrid system, which sits in the back, which adds another 201 brake horsepower on overboost and 93 horsepower just generally. This is quite a clever system. It's got something called an EDU in the back, which is the electric drive unit, which houses your limited slip differential, your electric motor, and a two-stage dedicated transmission for that motor as well. On top of that sits the AMG Performance batteries, again influenced by the AMG ONE, 560 cells individually cooled, able to charge up really quick and provide power extremely quickly as well. And all of that is linked to a 4MATIC system. So now the C63 no longer rear-wheel drive, it is now fully variable 4MATIC all-wheel drive, probably with a drift mode as well. So that gives you a total system output of over 670 brake horsepower, probably over 1,000 Newton meters of torque, and a 0 to 60 still to be unveiled, which is massive. We're talking, you know, power that is 60 brake horsepower over even our current E63 S. Now that system does add 200 kg plus of weight, but you have reduced the amount of weight a bit on the front axle because the engine is lighter and you got a bit more lower down, so it might help with handling, but because of the batteries, still a very weighty system. And I think you'll find this system to be powering a lot more cars in the future, as I said. In fact, the reveal of this car is coming up next on RBR, so hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss this one. Number 2, we move on to the full A-Class series of compact AMGs. To be fair, this is more than one vehicle, but I'm going to put it under one heading. And the ones that get the biggest changes in terms of looks are the A35 and the CLA35 that now finally get the AMG grille on the front end, which they've been sorely missing, unlike the other cars. They'll get the other nips and tucks, which you can expect a bit in terms of the lights on the front and the rear, but no major revisions coming to the exterior looks of any of the 35 or indeed the A45 series in this generation. And indeed, no more power from what I hear as well. And this shouldn't really surprise you because A, they're already at the top of their game, but Mercedes are planning to cancel the entirety of the A-Class compact segment anyway. So how much development are they really going to put into this? In terms of the interior, there will be some significant changes like the new MGU-H. You'll get the brand new AMG steering wheel with configurable drive mode buttons this time, which look and work fantastically well. And I heard something that saddened me, that they're getting rid of the touchpad in the middle, which I wish they didn't because I don't like just using touchscreens. But at least you get the new MGU-H in there anyway. I expect there will be eventually a really cool final edition. I don't know anything about it, I'm just guessing this considering how special the A45 is to all of us. Let's see in the future if I'm right. Another predictable facelift on the way is the GLE53 and the GLE63, which have been spied, now testing for quite a long time. On the 53, we've got quite a nice change on the front end with a more aggressive looking lower A-wing, as Mercedes like to call it. The 63's changes are limited more to lights from what it seems, and the rest of the car seems to be the same. Again, with both of these, I don't expect any revisions to power, so I think that they will remain the same. And inside, you're going to get that same change of the different steering wheel and the updated MGU-H, etc. Now, number 4 is a much more extensive AMG SUV update, which is the new GLC series, both the 43 and the 63. Now, in the 43, I can pretty much render what that's going to look like for you. It's going to be a change on the grille, it's going to be new wheels, pipes on the rear, and I'd like to bet that it pretty much looks exactly like that. In terms of what's powering it, it's that same setup as we found in the new C43. So you've got the M139L engine with the electric gas turbocharger, probably producing around about 400 brake horsepower in this, 500 Newton meters, and I think a pretty slow slog to 60 considering how much power we have on offer and how weighty the car is. But it's going to look really good. It's not going to have the additional weight that the 63 will. That's going to be a much bigger change, obviously going to be so much more aggressive looking in terms of the whole front end. It's going to be totally unique, and under the skin, as you've guessed, just like the C63S, is going to have the 4-cylinder P3 hybrid system. So that means a mid-size AMG SUV with 670 brake horsepower coming from the 4-cylinder plus the EDU in the back. It means it's going to be really quick, but of course you haven't got that emotion. Though a number of videos that have been sent to me do suggest that perhaps there is a little bit more emotion in the GLC than we're giving it credit. See it when it upshifts, that you get a nice bang like we used to get in the old A45s. So although we're losing the V8, we're actually gaining perhaps a little something out of even this 4-cylinder. Number 5 is the one that I've been looking forward to so much, and it's been tested perhaps the longest compared to all the others, and that is the new S63 E-Performance. And it's the S63 with the biggest design change that it's ever had, for the first time foregoing the traditional Mercedes grille in favour of a much bigger AMG one. As you can see here, a really aggressive lower front A-wing as well. It's going to look very, very aggressive, but I kind of like this. I think it's going to really be distinctive on the road. What powers it? Similar system to the C63S E Performance that we already tested, though allegedly, according to rumours, in 2 power variants of 700 brake and 800, which doesn't really make sense to me in how they're going to name that and how that's going to work in terms of, you know, you'll have the same weight from the P3 hybrid system, so you'll have the V8 in the front, you'll have the EDU, etc. in the back. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I am excited about it. It is a V8, and it should suit the S-Class's character a lot better than it did with the GT63S. Speaking of AMG saloons, number 6 is the next generation of E-Class AMGs, and I have some sad news from you. From what I'm hearing in rumours, there is not going to be an E63 in this generation, which is really sad because the Hammer was pretty much the cornerstone of the company in the past, and now I don't think that we're going to get one. And a lot of this comes down to the life of the V8 and how far it'll keep going. So what I believe is coming appears to be an E53 E-Performance that uses the same setup as the C63, maybe even a similar power output, which would then make sense why they're only limiting it to the 53 moniker. So expect the 4-cylinder with the hybrid setup, and I think, like I said, a similar type of power output. In terms of design, the usual flair of big AMG wheels, AMG grille on the front, etc. What does this mean for the E63? Will it ever come back? I think that depends on the life of the V8, and I'll discuss that near the end of the video. Number 7 is quite a predictable one, and that is the E-Performance version of the SL. So again, without sounding like a broken record, expect the same with a V8 system with the P3 hybrid system, though I expect a lower power output in this of probably around 700 brake and maybe a quicker time to charge, considering that this is a sports car and you don't want it plugged in all the time. So expect that to come pretty soon in the future. Now, number 8 is, I think, going to be the most popular Mercedes and AMG going forward, bar none. And it is the electric G-Wagon, or the EQG. Now, of course, the new generation of G-Wagon, since we've had it the last 5 years, was a car that was engineered by AMG, the responsibility of that car given to AMG by Mercedes-Benz to make it better, which they have, of course. And I've already shown you the EQG concept that we previewed. Now I'm getting more information about this. This is going to be the first Mercedes to bring in the long-range battery technology that was previewed in the EQXX concept. So these are all new batteries that are much lighter with way higher range. If you remember in EQXX, it gave that small light car 1,000 kilometers of range, which they bettered in their test of it amazingly. So this new battery technology features silicon anodes and other chemicals rather than graphite anodes. And what this does is essentially give us 40% better power density. So you could wind up with a smaller battery with the exact same range that your current EV is giving you, or a larger battery with way more range. And a big heavy car like the EQG is really going to need that, and it's going to, of course, make use of it. So we'll see what that does. The other big news is that it's going to get 4 electric motors, 1 on each wheel, and the party trick on this car is, well, it's basically a tank turn. Check out this, they call it the G-turn. Now those 4 electric motors will each have their own independent gearbox, and apparently they will be able together to mimic the 3 differential locks that we've had in our combustion G-Wagons to achieve the same type of off-roading capability, which is actually very impressive. We've still got the ladder chassis, but it's been strengthened to deal with the extra weight. So, I mean, I think this is going to be so cool to be rocking around in an electric G-Wagon, because I think engine means even less in the G. I think it's all about the heritage and the experience, so I cannot wait. Now, number 9 on the list is the car that's probably the furthest away from release, in my opinion, and that is a model that's allegedly called the CLE. And this is the result of Mercedes cancelling the C and the E coupes and merging them both into one series car. I think it'll probably be closer to C because it's not a pillarless car like the E's always have been. I'm not opposed to that because it ends up with a nicer roofline. This will be available in coupe and cabriolet, and the AMG version has been seen doing the runs already. So in the end, I do expect a 63 version with that same C63 output of 670 brake horsepower. And this one appears to be getting nice wide arches on the rear as well. Now number 10, and I've saved the best for last, is the next generation of AMG GT, codename C192. This is a car that was one of the last developed by ex-CEO Tobias Moores and the older AMG team. So it's a dinosaur in more ways than one. It's coming out first with a pure combustion V8 version that I'm really excited about. And you know what? It really sounds like a dinosaur on the road as well. Now the new GT, on the face of it and looking at its silhouette, looks very similar to the previous one. But under the skin, it's actually very, very different in terms of its architecture. That's because this car was developed alongside the new SL, so it sits on the same modular sport architecture as that car. That means that this is no longer a rear transaxle layout like the GT was. Instead, we have our gearbox and our engine up at the front, freeing up space for the 4MATIC system. That's right, the GT is no longer rear-wheel drive, it is now a fully variable 4MATIC car, according to rumours. Now, the other rumour that I've heard is that Tobias Moores & Co. did want to make the new one a rear transaxle layout like the old one, but allegedly too much money is being pumped into the EV side of the future, so they couldn't do it and they had to live with this one instead. How true that is, I don't know. This is just whispers that I'm relaying to you guys. Now, in terms of the modular sport architecture for the GT, of course, it's been heavily modified for the GT versus the SL. So we're going to have more rigidity, both transversely and longitudinally. Of course, it's been redone in terms of having the roof structure, having the hatchback structure. So like the SL was more rigid than the AMG GT Roadster, I expect the new GT to be a more rigid car than the previous one as well. Now, the best news, of course, is the fact that we get the V8 in this car, and it's going to be the familiar 4-litre V8, still a dry sump lubrication like in the last one. And honestly, it just sounds so good on the road that I have to let you listen to it one more time. Now, despite having the additional 4MATIC system in there and losing the transaxle layout that we've had since the SLS, allegedly the weight distribution of 4753 is still pretty similar in the new car, which is good. That means that the handling, etc., is going to be still pretty impressive. In terms of the power levels, I'm expecting there to be starting with 2. So a normal AMG GT at around about 470 brake horsepower and an AMG GT S at 577 brake. It is possible that they'll use the naming convention of GT55 and GT63. I really hope they don't, because I think that'll be weird, and I liked AMG GTS. I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Now, given the power and the torque involved, I think the gearbox that'll be used will be the same 9-speed wet clutch that we've seen in most recent AMGs, which makes sense. And in terms of suspension, like in the SL63, expect the AMG ride control suspension with adaptive damping, but I think the GT will get unique elastic kinematics and additional chassis mounts to make it more rigid and much more of a sports car to rival 911 than the SL is, which is really treading the line of Grand Tourer. Additionally, we'll get a 5-stage rear wing this time with our active aerodynamics. We'll have an active aerodynamic spoiler underneath the car as well. The other question surrounding the GT is, will it be a 2-seater, or because of the space they've freed up in the rear, will it maintain the 2+2 layout like the SL did? UK Mag Autocar seems to think it will be a 2+2. I can't see that happening, personally. I hope it's the case, being a family man, and I'd happily take it, but I guess only time will tell. There will be more engines as well. Expect a 4-cylinder unit like we've seen the SL43 getting, I think, and undoubtedly some crazy 700 brake horsepower GT E-Performance car. I worry about that though, because I think, will that make AMG complacent, and will it mean that they won't give us a proper stripped out AMG GTR rear-wheel drive track beast or another Black Series again? As time changes, their priorities are changing, and people like me who've bought cars like this matter less. I hope that isn't the case, because I'm really pining for another AMG GTR. In terms of the design, it's looking a real beast though. I mean, look at it, clear inspiration from the GT Black Series with the lower bigger grille. I think even the lower A-wing looks quite similar as well. I think you're going to have bigger wheels like the SL got this time as well, maybe a staggered setup of 2021s or something along those lines. The rear worries me a little bit though. The lights look lovely, but from what I can see through the camo, it appears to be a single bar light, which, can you imagine the comparisons to 911 on that? Like we didn't have enough already with the GT. That's slightly worrying, but it does look fantastic and I can't wait to see the unveiled product. This for me is the most exciting AMG coming in the future, and given how many GTs I've had, I would absolutely love to own one if it's anything like my SL. Now the other topic that I'd like to touch on very quickly is the future of engines at AMG. What's going to happen? Is the V8 dead forever? I thought until a few days before I filmed this video that was the case, but I did read an article recently on carsales.com where they spoke to the head of product management at AMG, and they were talking about EU regulations going into the future, and it's not as cut and dry as you think, because he wouldn't give a date to the end of the V8. While AMG are trying to be completely carbon neutral and have only an electric lineup by 2030, they also acknowledge that it's not going to work everywhere around the world, and there will be territories where people like you and me are still going to demand 6 cylinders and 8 cylinders, he said. And he also kind of said that it depends on the Euro regulations at that time. And we know that Euro Regulation 7 is coming out soon. Porsche even said that in those regulations, their reading of it so far, remember it's not final, is that small engines like the 4-cylinder powering the new C63, etc., giving a massive amount of output, won't be allowed in those regulations. Porsche also said that from their reading, they can see that larger engines would end up coming back. So apparently we're taking a U-turn. We're going from an outlawed 4-cylinder maybe back to 6 cylinders and 8 cylinders. Though AMG's product manager did say that because of the extra development needed on that, the price of those cars might be a lot higher. The point of all of this is, we just don't know what's going to happen in the future. The manufacturers don't know. You and I have even less clue of what's happening. But let's just say the V8 might still have a long life at AMG. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this new series. I'm happy to do it on any manufacturer that you want me to. Comment down below and let me know what you'd like to see. I've loved doing this video and I would love to do it again. Finally guys, I'd like to give a massive thank you to my friend Joel, who provided so many of the pictures and videos that you find in this video. And a big thanks to my friend Wilco, also on Instagram. Please do give them both a follow. If you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe to RBR, and I'll see you guys next time.